Who are some of your favorite authors in historical romance?
I'm very basic. My all-time hero, my one true, is Lisa Kleypas. Couldn't meet her if somebody
I
offered.
know. I'm always like, I don't want to meet my heroes.
And I'm sure she's lovely, but like I would probably faint. Like I couldn't be in the same room as her. And I thought, like, for the longest time, I wasn't a part of the romance community. For a very long time, I was embarrassed by my love of romance. And I think a lot of romance readers are, because we're told from years very early that it's trashy and that they're not good and stuff like that. And then you pick up something like Elisa Claypass and you're like, this is, she's, her imagery is fantastic. Her atmosphere writing, she does so much research for her books that I don't want to say the romance is secondary, but like because it never is. It's always the greatest romance of all time. But her surrounding story is so important and so informative that you feel like you learn something when you read her. And she's my end all be all. Like I aspire to write as well as she does. Again, the comparison, not supposed to do that. And I don't, but she's my number one. And
Yeah.
then oh god, I mean, I'm kind of obsessing her, so I'm definitely blanking on others, but, like, I
Oh,
will
that's all
say
right.
that the first romance that I bought that I didn't, like, find in a library or whatever was a Julia Quinn, and
Okay.
I think it was 2 brothers. Oh, I can't but I was, like, 14, and I was like, "I'm gonna buy this book," and then I went through it, and it had scenes, and I was like, "I'm too young for this." And I held on to it until I was, like, 18, and I was like, "Okay, I think I can manage it now." And I went back and I read it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm obsessed." And I bought a book a week from, like, Walmart for, like,
Wow.
10 years. Like, I was obsessed, but I didn't want anybody to know, I didn't tell anybody. I wrote YA fiction trying to
Hmm.
circumnavigate, but it's where I belong. I'm very happy to
Yeah.
be in my historic romance world.
So how did you evolve from being a closeted romance reader to coming out into it?
So, well, I would read them a book a week at least, like, and I got so good at reading them in public, like my face wouldn't change a shade at all when I got to certain parts. And my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, we were on a cruise, and he was like, "Oh, what are you reading?" I'm like, "Oh, this," and I showed him the scene, and he like closed the book. He was like, "People are around," and I was like, "Nobody can see. It's fine. It's a book. It's magic." But he was actually very supportive of it. He would like find me like old historical romances and he was like, "Oh, did you read this one yet?" I'm like, "No, thank you, thanks." And he would like bring them to me like I was a raccoon or something. And because I was so comfortable with him and my writing, and I don't know. And then I don't know. I think it might have been like Bookstagram eventually, like
Hmm.
where there was just this community of people who knew who Lisa Claypass was. Like I thought I was the only one in the world. And then you're like, "Oh no, the these books are my favorite too." And I'm like, "Oh, I had no idea other people read them." And then they were also happy and proud, and I was like, "Okay, me too, me too." Like I want to be proud too. So I am indebted to the romance community because they're so wonderfully proud, and they should be because it's all wonderful stuff.